Yet another school shooting because it's Tuesday. And that's how it is in America. One school shooting after another, one mass shooting after another, one massacre after another. In this case, there's one dead and it is the shooter, but there are several injured. It's in Maryland. Let me tell you all about it. A 17-year-old male student opened fire using a handgun around 8 a.m. in a hallway at Great Mills High School, striking a 16-year-old female student and a 14-year-old male student, St. Mary's County Sheriff Tim Cameron said during a press conference. That's HuffPost reporting that. You see the map on where that happened. And obviously, a lot of people concerned. There was a lockdown of the school. The parents were rightfully terrified at what might have happened to their kids. It now looks like, based on the latest reporting as we go live here, that the female who was shot might have had a relationship with the shooter, who was also a student. So that was HuffPost. Now let's go to the New York Times. The shooting suspect, Austin Wyatt Rollins, 17, was confirmed dead at 10:41 a.m., said Sheriff Timothy Cameron, adding that it was not immediately clear whether or not a round fired by the officer struck the suspect. So a couple of things here. One, we try to not give the name of the suspect after the first day, but on the first day we think it's important for you to know who it was. And in this case, the relevant part is that he went to that same school, so it's another student. And in this case, a security guard was the one who fired the shot. And whether it's teachers or security guards, they are put in this terrible position where they're going to have to shoot the students. But in this case, it appears to be definitely the right decision. And the security guard actually responded in under a minute, apparently. Excellent response time. They are not sure, and I watched the press conference with the sheriff, whether it was in fact the security officer who had shot the suspect or if the suspect's wounds were self-inflicted. So, but either way, the security officer did reach him, did fire at him, and either shot him and killed him or scared him enough or brought him to the end of his rope enough that he killed himself. We'll find out more about that, and I'm sure have much more details in the next 24 hours. So I want to give you more context here. Sheriff Cameron said the officer, Deputy First Class Blaine Gaskill, was not injured in the shooting. He said a 14-year-old male student who was also shot was transported to a hospital in stable condition, and a female student was transported to a shock trauma facility where she was in critical condition. And it appears that she is far worse hurt, and she was the intended target of the shooting. So our hearts go out to her, and we hope she's okay, obviously, as well as the male student who appears to have been shot at some point in the shootout. And one more from Sheriff Cameron. He said, the notion of it can't happen here is no longer a notion. Unfortunately, this is exactly what we've been telling you guys all along in the Young Turks. I don't know why anybody's got it in their head that it can't happen in their neck of the woods. Of course it can, and it's America, and there's 250 million guns. It almost certainly will happen either somewhere near you or a place near someone you know, a family member, a friend, etc. Because they're everywhere. There's one mass shooting per day on average. How could it not affect you? It's just a matter of, massacre lottery that we're all involved here with in America. And of course, when the massacres happen at the schools, it's far more heartbreaking. And so if you're still under this crazy assumption or notion that it couldn't happen near you, that's not remotely true. It definitely can happen near you and probably will. So unless we put an end to the massacres in the first place, round and round they go. So which then leads us to the victims of the last massacre, and that was in Parkland, of course, in Florida. And a lot of those students have been speaking out, and they continue to speak out today when they saw the shooting at another school. One of the more famous, one of the students at this point, having delivered some dramatic speeches both on television and at rallies, Emma Gonzalez tweeted in, "We are here for you, students of Great Mills. Together we can stop this from ever happening again." That is a good and hopeful thought from Emma Gonzalez. Some of the other students from Florida were a little bit more upset, and I think rightfully so. Sarah Chadwick writes in, We are begging for our lives and politicians continue to ignore us. This is on their hands. This is what happens when we beg for common sense gun laws and you don't listen. And then in all caps, do something instead of just sitting in your fancy chairs. To which I say, hear, hear. More from the Parkland students. Jacqueline Corin writes in, less than a week ago, Great Mills High School students walked out with us to protest gun violence. Now they're experiencing it for themselves. The state of our country is disgusting. I'm so sorry, Great Mills. By the way, right now the NRA has an ad out attacking the Parkland, Florida students because they're really classy. That's what you want to do. You want to attack students who suffered through that massacre. So as they are running the ad against the other students who were almost murdered and saw their friends getting murdered, there's another school shooting where, again, students are shot and friends are worried about someone passing away. Luckily, so far, both of the victims have not passed away in Maryland. Obviously, we'll keep tabs on that. And a final tweet from you guys from yet another Parkland student. Sophie Whitney writes in, each day it becomes more evident that we need change. We won't stop fighting. This won't be the norm. It can't be. Great Mills High School on Saturday and every day we stand with you. Hashtag March for Our Lives. So referencing a march that's going to happen on Saturday. Look, I like that one particularly because it says this cannot be the norm. And I think that's the right message. We can't get used to the massacres. We can't get used to the school shootings. If we do, what have we become? We're just sitting here waiting for it to be our kids next. We're supposed to live in a democracy. And I keep telling you guys, 93% of Americans want federal background checks. Over 70% of NRA members want federal background checks. These are really easy, sensible gun control issues. They're not hard, they're not on the edges. Even banning assault weapons, enormous popularity in the country overall, and even with gun owners, but not with gun manufacturers. And they fight it tooth and nail, including doing smears against the students who were the victims. So we've got to regain our democracy and not let this become something we get used to. But unfortunately for today, another day in America and another school shooting. If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member, tytnetwork.com/join.